Hello and welcome. I am Thomas Porteus and you're watching The World Report. Let's take a look at the headlines this hour. A US judge orders Donald Trump to be sentenced on the 10th of January in his hush money case in New York City. The date falls short of just 2 weeks before he is set to be sworn in as president. Trump previously attempted to use his presidential election victory to have the case dismissed. The president-elect responded on social media and calls it an illegitimate political attack and referred to the case as nothing but a rigged charade. Republican Mike Johnson survives a razor-thin vote to remain House Speaker. In a drama-filled, highly anticipated vote marks the start of a complete Republican control of Washington. Johnson could only afford to lose 2 votes because of the tight margin of control Republicans have in Congress. Donald Trump previously endorsed Johnson for the role, saying a win for Mike today will be a big win for the Republican Party. The Joe Biden administration notifies Congress of a proposed $8 billion arms sale to Israel. Washington maintains its support for their ally whose war with Hamas has killed tens of thousands. The deal would now need approval from the House of Representatives and Senate committees. Reports state that the deal includes munitions for fighter jets and attack helicopters, as well as artillery, shell, small diameter bombs and warheads. Decorated Green Beret shoots himself in a Tesla Cybertruck before New Year's Day explosion outside Trump Hotel. Notes say 37-year-old Matthew Livsberger called the stump a wake-up call for the country's ills. He wrote of needing to cleanse his mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the lives I took. A judge has ordered Donald Trump to be sentenced on January the 10th, just days before his inauguration as president. New York Justice Juan Merchan said he would not impose jail time, probation or a fine. Instead, Trump will receive an unconditional discharge. The judge also allowed Trump to attend the hearing in person or virtually. Trump has dismissed the ruling as an illegitimate political attack and called the case a rigged charade. He was convicted in May of 34 felony counts for falsifying business records. These charges relate to a $130,000 payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. The payment was made to cover up an alleged affair. Trump has denied any wrongdoing, claiming the case is aimed at damaging his 2024 campaign. To discuss this, we have senior journalist Gautam Mukherjee. Thank you very much for joining us. My first question to you is, how likely is it that Trump appeals this decision?
I think he might if he thinks there's going to be any consequences. But from the looks of it, there will be no consequences to the conviction. If that is all there is to it, he won't appeal it. But if he thinks there are consequences, he might.
So now he is officially the first president in US history to be a convicted felon. What are the implications for this?
A felony is a small, criminal act, misdemeanor followed by a felony. It will have absolutely no effect on him as the president. It will be a footnote. It is part of what has always happened to Donald Trump. There have been court cases right from his early days as a builder, and it is continuing now. And particularly in New York State, or not New York State, but New York, it is, a Democrat stronghold at present, and these things tend to be political.
And how may the both American public and the international community view a US president being sentenced for a criminal conviction?
I don't think they care. The US public has voted convincingly to say that they don't care about all this. This is not the first case. There are others. Some he's been acquitted, some are ongoing. They have not dented his popularity. or failed to win him the presidency. As far as the international arena goes, I think they're more concerned about the actions of Donald Trump as president, and not very much about what was basically done to try and prevent him becoming president.
And does this set any new legal or political precedents for holding elected officials accountable?
Well, all over the world there are convictions, and usually if there are, different countries have different rules. In India, an allegation doesn't count for much, but if you are convicted of a criminal action, then you cannot stand for elections for 6 years. In America, I think it's a little different, and it depends on the magnitude of the misdemeanor or the felony, and certainly they don't really rank in terms of a very serious criminal action. In India, any criminal action in which you are convicted, you cannot stand for elections. I don't think that's the case in the United States.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to our next story from the US. Republican Mike Johnson has narrowly survived a tense vote to remain House Speaker, marking the beginning of full Republican control in Washington. With a slim margin of control in Congress, Johnson could only afford to lose 2 votes. Despite coming close to losing his re-election, he secured the position after intense lobbying efforts. President-elect Donald Trump had previously endorsed Johnson, calling his victory a big win for the Republican Party. As House Speaker, Johnson holds one of the most powerful positions in Washington, controlling the lower chamber of Congress and standing second in the line to the presidency. A Louisiana Republican was supported by nearly all Republicans in his bid for re-election. We are joined again by Gautam Makhadi. I was wondering, what does this major thin re-election say about the state of the Republican Party right now?
Well, a win is a win. 2 votes, that's a narrow win. It's greater congratulations to the Republican Party for pulling it off, every one of them backing his candidature and securing the speakership, which is a very important post, as you pointed out, in Congress, and will go a long way to helping to pass legislation as the time goes on. And as we know, Donald Trump has a number of radical moves coming up, and many of them are not particularly something that the Democrats are looking forward to. However, the Republicans intend to push on, and having the speaker of your choice is a very good move to happen and be confirmed before Donald Trump's inauguration.
Could you talk to me a little bit about the importance of the House Speaker in the role of government?
Well, it's constitutionally in the Americas, and particularly in the United States, it is one of the highest ranking posts. You will remember the visit of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan, which really rattled the chains as far as China was concerned, mainly because Pelosi was the speaker. And so the importance of the speaker is that not only is it a high-ranking constitutional post, it has the ability to influence legislation. It has the influence to block that which is, not liked by the incumbent government. So it is of enormous importance. And to be able to get a person of your choice in that job is a very good indication for the future, especially because the Republicans actually possess a very narrow majority. And it has often been said that while Donald Trump represents the right of the Republican Party, not everybody is really on his side within the Republican Party. and certainly the Democrats are quite strongly opposed. Having said that, to get every single vote at a point when he's just a few days away from being inaugurated is, a very good augury for the future.
Obviously, Trump endorsed Mike Johnson. How closely is Johnson expected to align with Trump's values and policies?
Well, he won't oppose them. And, he definitely has won because of the backing of the right, which was quite overwhelming and caused those Republicans who are more liberal and inclined towards more moderate policies to practically force them to align with the rest of them in order to, make him win. And as Trump's choice, he is, part of the converted, part of Trump's vision of how America is to be made great again.
So this has been called the start of the complete Republican takeover of Washington. So if you could give me a kind of example of how easy things were going to be for Republicans now, as opposed to before November the 5th, before all these elections happened, how easy is it going to be for Republicans to pass the legislation that they want to pass?
Well, since most of the legislation is quite, sort of controversial in nature, some of them will have to do with immigration. Some of them will have to do with tariffs. Some of them will have to do with how they treat NATO in future and the United Nations. So all of these legislations and many others connected with cutting costs in the government because the debt burden of the United States is over $36 trillion, and the interest payments is eating away 1/4 of their annual revenue. It's a serious matter. Elon Musk has said that if this is not tackled, and Elon Musk is particularly close to Donald Trump and has been tasked with cutting costs along with Ramaswamy. So none of these things are exactly, routine matters. They are going to be legislation, intensive, and they are going to upset the liberals in the Democrat Party for sure. There's also the question of Panama, in which he has raised a red flag and said these people are exploiting us and this will not be allowed. So there's a great deal of confrontation in terms of what Trump will use either as a pressure tactic or in reality to bring various things to a close. The Ukrainian war will be closed. The Gaza war will be closed. The balance of payments with China will be tackled. These are momentous issues. So I think with a narrow majority, the Republicans will have to battle it through. But at the same time, I think the center and sides of the Democratic Party have been deeply wounded. There is nobody to replace, the likes of Obama or Clinton in the Democratic Party. They are in a shambles, and I think Trump is going to get the benefit of that.
You spoke briefly earlier about the dissent that's going on within the Trump party. People were labeling it even the Trump team civil war. I was wondering how is that affecting? What's going on with that? Will this be alarming to Trump?
Well, no, he wouldn't have won if it was alarming in proportion. What happened was there were a lot of candidates that came up testing the waters in the primaries, backed by the moderates and even the left of center people in the Republican Party, insofar as they exist. And they couldn't get any traction, so they dropped out one by one. And Trump never lost his support base, and in fact gained from each of these dropouts who were forced, in order to maintain their political relevance, to endorse his candidature, and eventually he had himself a thumping win. This has never been seen since 1862, that a man is elected, loses the next 4 years, then comes back with a thumping majority at the age of 78. I mean, this is quite a spectacular feat that Trump has pulled, and I don't think the so-called liberals or people who are not inclined to back Trump all the way have any traction within the party anymore. They will have to bide their time to see if Trump falters on something before they can rear their heads. For the moment, and I would imagine for a year or two, up to the halfway mark of this term, I don't think they stand a chance. If Trump falters on any of his much declared and threatened initiatives, then maybe they will come back into the limelight saying, look, this is harming the country, etc.
Yes, I was going to just ask you about the state of the Democratic Party and what can they do now?
Well, first they need some leadership, which is sorely lacking. The kind of leadership they threw up. I mean, Harris was a mistake and very poor at, rallying the troops. Biden, had he been a little younger and fitter, might have won. He was the incumbent president, but he is now too fragile to do his work anymore. So that's the end of him. He did have 50 years of experience in government. He's had a stellar career. He was their best hope, but he's much too old and fragile to, age is a number as long as you are fit, and he just isn't fit. I mean, if you look at the age differences between Trump and Biden, it's not a great deal. But Trump is a very formidable character. He gets shot, he comes back in moments. There's a second attempt, he's not bothered. He's got a lot of stamina and a lot of determination. Where are such people in the Democrat Party? And if they exist, they will certainly have to shelve a lot of their ideological baggage. The far left sort of professorial types, corduroy pants and kids and so on will not work. They are not. The number of black people and Hispanics that have gone over to the Republican side is a case in point, because a lot of them are in agreement with Trump that if you're going to let millions of illegals come in, give them papers overnight and let them take your jobs when we're already having trouble finding enough jobs for the legitimate, U.S. citizens, then, what is going on? This woke type of thinking that was prevalent and growing and flourishing. I mean, you had demonstrations in almost every major university against Israel and against the Gaza war, ignoring the fact that they were attacked and massacred in the first place.
I'm afraid, Gautam Mukherjee, we've run out of time. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We will now move on to some more news updates from across the world. Moldova faces a security crisis, Prime Minister Dorin Rădășan says on Friday. This comes after tens of thousands of residents in the breakaway enclave Transnistria were cut off from Russian gas supply. Here is the full report.
On Saturday, Russian energy giant Gazprom announced that it would suspend gas exports to Moldova from January 1st, citing failure in regular payments under the existing contract as the reason. Gazprom supplies gas to the Kashugan power plant, which produces electricity powering a substantial part of Moldova. The company reserves the right to terminate its supply contract with Moldova. In an ex-post, Moldovan Prime Minister Doran Rachin condemned the Russian decision, calling this a deliberately induced security crisis. He also dismissed the invalidated debt claims made by Moscow. Rachin said Moldova had diversified sources of gas supply in order to reduce dependence on a single supplier. This declaration did not come as a surprise to the Moldova capital, Chisinau. Moldova and Transnistria have both declared states of emergency over the threat of disrupted gas supplies. Moldova, with a population of 2.5 million, is implementing measures to reduce energy consumption by 1/3 starting January 1st. Transnistria's government announced that gas supplies to non-essential businesses would be cut off starting Saturday, but households will continue receiving gas, heating, and hot water until January 1st. Once the current transit deal with Ukraine expires on December 31st, Russian gas exports through Ukraine to Slovakia, Austria, Hungary, and Italy will completely end. Moldovan President Maia Sandu too accused Gazprom of fueling an energy crisis by refusing to deliver gas via an alternative route. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from the Indo-Pacific region. A fire at a vegetable market in North China killed 8 people and injured 15 on Saturday. The fire erupted at the Liguang market in Shanjiakou market. As per state reports, the injured have been sent to hospital for treatment. They are in stable condition now. Days after China announced that it is building the world's largest dam in Brahmaputra River, India responded with a reminder. The Ministry of External Affairs of India said it will protect the country's interest. It also said, for now, New Delhi will continue to closely monitor the latest developments. It added that necessary and appropriate action will be taken when required. China has claimed that the mega dam project across the Sangpo River would have no negative impact on India and Bangladesh. The Sangpo flows from Tibet into India and then to Bangladesh before joining the Bay of Bengal. The spokesperson of the Chinese embassy said in India, the project has no negative impact on the lower reaches. Pakistan Tehreek-i-Insaf party said it will only talk to government for now. All the doors are closed for military talks. The party's chairman, Gulhar Ali Khan, revealed that his party engaged in talks with military before the November 2024 election, but he also clarified that these talks have been severed. Pakistan High Commission in India said that it has issued visas to 94 Indian pilgrims. The Indians were given visas to participate in the 316th birth anniversary of Sant Shadaram Sahib in Sindh. In November 2024, Pakistan issued visas for 87 Hindu pilgrims for a similar occasion. India has received the request for extradition of ousted former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs has confirmed this on Friday. This development comes after Bangladesh sent a diplomatic note to India's Foreign Ministry requesting Hasina's extradition. Hasina is living in India since August the 5th. She fled Bangladesh following a massive student protest that toppled her 16-year regime. The US State Department has quietly informed Congress of its plan to sell $8 billion in arms to Israel. The informal notification was sent to the Foreign Affairs and Senate Foreign Relations Committee on Friday. Meanwhile, the situation in Gaza remains critical, with intense airstrikes claiming at least 150 lives over the past few days. Here is the full report.
The US State Department has quietly informed Congress of its intention to sell $8 billion in arms to Israel. The informal notification was sent to the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on Friday. Tensions over US arms sales to Israel resurfaced when Netanyahu accused the Biden administration of withholding weapons, a claim denied by a Biden envoy as unproductive and untrue. Meanwhile, in Gaza, the situation remains dire. In just 2 days, intense airstrikes have resulted in the deaths of at least 150 people, with 73 reported on Friday and 77 confirmed on Thursday.
نتحدث على 8 غارات في قطاع غزة، ونتحدث كلها لأطفال، لتجمعات من المواطنين بشكل واضح. آخر هذه الغارات يعني حدثت قبل لحظات من الآن. نتحدث على استهداف في منطقة الشمعة 3 أطفال قد استشهدوا، وأكثر من 15 مصابا، 90% منهم أيضا من الأطفال. وبالتالي
Amnesty International condemned Israel's detention of Drive Hussam Abu Safia, calling it a symbol of efforts to annihilate Gaza's healthcare. As the crisis worsens, talks in Qatar will resume, with Hamas official Bassem Naim emphasizing the group's commitment to a ceasefire, Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, and the return of displaced people. Key mediators Qatar, Egypt, and the United States have been attempting to secure a lasting deal in indirect talks for months. Bureau Report, NewsX.
And that is all we have time for. For more international news updates, stay tuned on NewsX World.